Hey, welcome back to the channel. You're watching The Country Bees and I'm Terrence. Today we're making one-to-one sugar syrup. So this is what you want to feed to your bees in the springtime. You will go out on the internet. There are tons of different recipes. A lot of people want to be very exact, very precise. What I've found is the bees don't care. If we're off by a couple grams, right? So I'm just going to walk you through today how I make mine. Talk about a couple little pieces as we go along here. But I have just saved a empty gallon jug here. Gallon of water, right? So 1-to-1. Let's start there. 1-to-1 is about equal parts. A gallon of water weighs about 8 pounds. So I stopped at my local grocery store and I picked up 4 pounds of sugar, right? So roughly, by weight, what we're going to end up with is about half sugar, half water. So you can scale that up from there. Again, there's so many recipes out there, but don't overthink it. And if your sugar is a little clumpy like mine, it's not going to go through this funnel real great. Let's see if we can make that go a little better. Maybe I should have put this in beforehand. But we're just going to get this sugar in there. I like to put my sugar in first because what I've found is the water will dissolve into it a little better. And if you have a little bit too much water when you start, getting all that sugar in is really hard. So a lot of times people will talk about, if you're making a gallon of syrup, start with a bigger container. I've found that if I put the sugar in first, I can usually, and I'm spilling everywhere. It'll usually work just fine if I put the sugar first. So, almost there. My funnel wouldn't get clogged so much. It would be faster. Again, I should have prepped this. But the other thing we're going to do today, and we can start talking about that, is we're going to add some additives. So bees, we talk a lot about eczema with our bees. That's eczema is something you want to treat for in kind of that first batch of syrup that you give them each spring. Sometimes again late in the fall. Eczema, the treatment for that is Fumidil B. So I have some of that here. I'll show you here just one second while this last bit of sugar goes in. Okay, there's all our sugar in. So 4 pounds of sugar in there. So Fumidil B, it comes in a jar. Our local bee club, we just distribute it out because nobody needs an entire jar full. But if you're putting eczema or Fumidil B in, you'll put 5 grams to a gallon of syrup. Other choices, there's other things you can do. I'm going to try this year. This is not a sponsored video, but I'm going to try Hive Alive, the liquid. This is just their liquid nutrient. They claim it has a lot of the same benefits, good for the bees' gut health and all of that. So we're going to try that. If you're doing this liquid for a gallon, it says to use 2 teaspoons. Comes with this little nifty measure that's about 10 milliliters. So we'll add that in at the end. But either way, I think it's good to treat for that. Make sure your bees, have all of that. There's other options. I've seen Honeybee Healthy. There's a bunch of different things out there. Again, just have healthy bees. But we've got that sugar in. We're ready to add our water. Some people will boil their water. Again, totally up to you. I just got the hottest tap water that I have out of my tap. Seems to do the trick. Maybe boiling water would absorb it a little faster. But if we look at this container, we're nearly halfway there by volume. And I'm just going to add this hot water in. And again, it'll absorb down. And we will have some 1-to-1 syrup here in just a minute. I can feel the steam coming off of that. It is warm water. So set that aside for just a moment. I'm just going to put this cap on. And again, I think with a gallon container like this, putting the sugar first, water second, I can just shake it around a little bit like this. Shake, shake, and it'll, I'll come back to it after a few minutes and give it a couple shakes. I don't want to give this to the bees hot like this either, so it's gonna sit. A little bit of that sugar will settle. I'll shake it up a couple times. We'll be good. I will top that off with a little bit of water just to get it fully up to that gallon mark. Again, I don't think you need to be ultra precise. At least that's been my experience. The bees are going to love it and they're going to take it down. So let's add just a little bit of this Hive Alive syrup. We're going to do the 2 teaspoons that it recommends. I did already shake this up. So we got our 10 milliliters there. In it goes. Get that capped up. And then again, we'll just shake that in, get it nice and mixed up. Let this cool off. And it won't take that long to cool. The bees will be so happy to have this. So again, we'll shake that a couple more times. Again, there's all different kinds of feeders you can use. There's frame feeders, there's top feeders. Honestly, I often just have some old jars from spaghetti sauce or whatever. I've just punched, I think this has got, 9 or 10 little holes in the top. Fill this up all the way, hold it till it makes a little vacuum seal. Stick that on top of an inner cover. And we'll post a video about that when we go out and give this to the bees here, either later today or tomorrow. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. Showed you that making 1-to-1 sugar syrup is not all that complicated. Give you a good idea of just how simple it is, and you can do it with, just an old jug laying around. Pick up some sugar at the store, and keep your bees healthy and happy. Anyway, if you found this content useful, please give it a like, thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel. We'll keep you informed of all the things we're doing with our bees. Thanks.